Hey guys, happy Thursday. Welcome to this week's episode of Ask Mish. All right, so I did something bold, guys. So, on my Instagram stories, I always ask you to ask me questions like little Dear Abby style stuff so I can address them in my stories, which I love to do. And then like the really juicy ones here on the podcast. So, that being said, obviously, please follow me on Instagram so we can be besties at Mish of Nutrish Mish. I'll link it in the show notes. But so I did something bolder. I realized so I was trying to like pry for questions and I was like having a hard time getting them this week. And what I did instead was there's like these like apps you can make anonymous link posts. So like people can ask whatever anonymously. And I said to myself, I was like, Michelle, you know the kind of fucking questions you're going to get when you make it anonymous. And don't get me wrong, there were some. Actually, maybe next week it would be fun to read the craziest anonymous questions people have asked me. That might be fun. I might not answer them, but it'll just be kind of funny to answer them. I might do that for you guys next week. Honestly, for the most part, I was impressed. I said to everyone on my Instagram stories, I was like, all right, you guys can maintain the privilege. You guys didn't abuse it too much. There were definitely a few abusers, but for the most part, everybody was pretty like respectful. And I got one question that I got this question Sunday, and as recording this, it's Wednesday, and I've been like dying to jump into this question because like I've been thinking about it. And on the surface, it's like a whatever question, but like the deeper meaning to me was so much. It was from this girl who said that she was dating this great guy, like really, really great guy, but he won't go down on her. And I don't know, to me, that just like speaks volumes. So I answered that one. And then the second one I answered was somebody who is a people pleaser. So she's like, I know I'm a people pleaser. I literally can't say no to people. I'm like terrified of the feeling of people not liking me or being mad at me. Like, what do I do? So with that one, I tried to like kind of change her viewpoint on like what it means to be a people pleaser and like where it comes from, and then sort of give a step-by-step process. A lot of my clients, a lot of my audience, I feel like can be people pleasery because there's a big relationship between people pleasing and difficult relationships with food, which I address too. So let's dive in, guys. I'm super excited. Let's start with the first question. All right. My boyfriend won't go downtown, but he's a great guy. Keep him or keep it moving? Do you guys ever like have something happen to you or something happened and you're just like you have like days to stew on it before you like did something about it? Like I got this question like 3 days ago and I've like been stewing on it and now I like need to like talk about it. All right. So listen, whoever this is, I don't know who your boyfriend is. I don't know your relationship. You guys obviously know more than me, but if you're writing this into me, I'm assuming you're questioning something. So I'm going to give you my opinion. Also, I did the research of asking one of my guy friends. I also did some research with asking a professional psychologist, and I'm going to like take all that information. I'm going to wrap it up in a bow for you and do with it what you will. Here we go. Okay. So you say he's a great guy, but he won't go down on you, right? So there are many great guys out there, and great guys make great friends. We love that, right? Great men make great partners. Great partners prioritize their girlfriends, whoever partners in the bedroom. If he is not prioritizing you in the bedroom, like where else is he not prioritizing you? Like when you're in bed with somebody, like your goal is to like make them feel good, right? And that should be like reciprocal. And speaking of reciprocal, I am venturing a guess that it is not acceptable, it is not okay that you do not go down on him, right? Like safe assumption. And I bet you probably enjoy doing it to an extent because it makes him feel good, right? What planet would he not want to do that for you, right? Like if I said to a guy, hey, listen, I like you clipping my fingernails, like I bet you I would have 500 guys with nail clippers like ready to go, right? Whatever like makes you feel good in the bedroom. If a man is like not like ready, willing, and able, like and especially something so like benign as this, and then something that he expects in return, like hell no. And look, I'm not saying like obviously everyone should have like their boundaries in the bedroom and blah blah blah, but like this just seems so selfish to me. And my bigger problem with it is like if you're doing this in the bedroom, what else are you doing in life? Like now you said he's a great guy. I want to know why he's great. And again, I don't know, but like I have a lot of single girlfriends and I have a lot of like single clients, and like I get it. It is rough out there. I hear the craziest friggin' stories from people. Like I get it. But I think the problem is like we sometimes say, oh, he's this great guy. And we're like, I'm like, okay, but you like wanted someone like who's ambitious and he like lives in his mom's basement. And you're like, oh, but like he's saving up. And you're like, oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. But like, you wanted someone who had like a full-time job and like he works part-time job. And you're like, yeah, it's fine. And then you're like, okay, but didn't you like want somebody that, was gonna blah, blah. But and like we end up like sacrificing and sacrificing and sacrificing and like taking this person and changing what our definition of great is to like mold the person instead of like staying true to what we want. And I don't think we should accept that. And that might be being a little bit dramatic because, he's not going down on you. Like, I don't know, maybe he's like fucking amazing in every other aspect of life. I don't know. But like, I just venture a guess that if somebody like, it's not even somebody doesn't like it, if somebody is unwilling to do that in the bedroom, to me, I find it very hard to believe that they're a great guy. I find it easier to believe though that the dating pool is rough out there and you might have somebody right now that really like isn't so great, but you're like kind of moonlighting him as great because of the caliber of person that's out there. Like I get it, it's rough out there, but like I would challenge you to find somebody that prioritizes you. I would challenge you to find somebody that like checks all your boxes, like literally and figuratively. Like find someone who's not a 2-year-old about going down on you in the bedroom. Like I'm sorry, we're all adults here. Like that is such an unacceptable answer. But then I was thinking, is that an unacceptable answer? I don't know. So then I asked one of my guy friends, and my guy friend was like, listen, like, I think that's crazy. Like, unless there's a legitimate reason, I can't think of anything like that would make somebody say they won't go down on their girlfriend. And I was like, okay, but like, what would a legitimate reason be? And then he thought about it for a second. He's like, honestly, like, there isn't one. He's like, I can't think of anything. And then I like have a psychologist friend that I asked, and she actually said something interesting. And this is like from the doctor, this isn't from me. She said that men that typically have a problem going down on females, she says they tend to have very low libidos. So my first question is, if, and again, we're generalizing here, this is from the doctor, they tend to have low libidos. Do you want to be married to somebody? Do you want to be with somebody forever with a low libido that like doesn't have like a sex drive? Like that's a beautiful part of a relationship, right? Like, is that what you want? Probably not, right? And then she said they also tend to be more difficult men. She said not always, but that personality type of men that refuse to go down on women in the bedroom tend to have low libidos and they tend to be more difficult men. I don't know who you are, but I want better for you. I want better for you. I do. And to me, like not doing that in the bedroom, that's such a clear sign that like there's just like there's a lot lacking there. And just again, I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but from my experience, dealing with like my friends and people that I know are single, we tend to like lower our standards and our expectations, and we tend to like change our definition of great and what we want in a guy based on like what we have in front of us, and that never ends well. So long story short, I say leave him. That's just me, but you make the decision for yourself because you have all the information. I don't. I made a lot of assumptions here, but regardless, like I want more for you. And if that's something that is important to you, you should have it. Like everyone should have that. And if you decide to leave him, like DM me. I have a million amazing guy friends that will be more than happy to go down on you. All right, so here we go. Dear Mish, do you have any advice on how to tell people in your life no? I struggle with this so much. The idea of me telling somebody no and then having them be mad at me, or even worse, not liking me, is more than I can handle. The problem is I'm so burnt out. I am always the one volunteering. I'm always the one getting my friends' kids off the bus. I'm always the one people are asking for the favor. How do I stop being such a people pleaser? Right. So people pleasing is this kind of like weird hell that you might live in, because it's like you don't really want to do a lot of these things, but you feel like you have to do these things because the fear and the possible pain of somebody like thinking a certain way about you is way greater than the already probably pretty high pain that you have of like being overwhelmed. And it sounds like you're sort of like at this point where it's like something's got to give here. But your kind of almost like internal compass is like, I can't deal when people are mad at me or people aren't going to like me, and you kind of perceive that if I tell people no, they're not going to like me. So I'm going to kind of like lay this out for you in a way that you're really going to understand it. But the Sparknote version is right now, you're going to have two types of people in the world. I'm going to teach you right now how to start putting up boundaries in your life. And you're going to have two types of people. You're going to have the type of people that are great people that are in your life, and they're going to be in your life whether you say yes or no. And they're going to understand when you tell them no. And to be honest, they're 100% going to respect you more and treat you better when you start to put up those boundaries and when you start to tell them no. And then there are the friggin' leeches in your life. I guarantee you, girl, you have leeches all around you. The leeches are going to fall away. when you are a people pleaser, you will attract the energy of people that like to suck the energy out of you because you are willing to give it. And as you start putting up the boundaries, which I'm going to teach you how to do in a little bit, those people are going to fall off the wayside. They're going to maybe get a little upset with you. Maybe they're going to get mad at you. Maybe they're not going to like you. But those were the people that were using you in the first place. They're not good people to be. Those are not the people that you wanted in your life. They were only in your life because they thought that they could use you for their own agenda because they felt like they could walk all over you. Once you put up some boundaries, which is going to be out of your comfort zone, but I'm going to walk you through the process. All right. Once you start putting up those boundaries, those people are going to fall away. They're going to find a new host to leech onto. And then you're going to start to make room in your life for these like higher vibrational, higher level people who you deserve to have in your life who would never do that to you. You know, right now it sounds like you have I don't even know you, but you probably, if I had to take a guess, people that I know that are people pleasers tend to have more lower quality people in their life that are just using them because they know that they can. So I hope, first of all, this is inspiring you to make change. And how do I know all this? I know this because I'm a Cancer. I'm a July baby. So us water signs, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, we trend a little bit people pleasery. We tend to be empaths. And when you're an empath, it's being an empath and being sort of having a people pleaser tendency. It almost goes hand in hand because we can feel people's energy, right? Like if somebody's mad at me, I feel it. When some energy is weird in the room, I feel it. If something is up, like I feel it. I absorb it. It becomes part of me. It's really, really difficult to manage if you've never learned to hone your empath. A lot of people look at empaths, or sometimes empaths feel like they almost feel like it's like a detriment to be one. They're like, oh, I have learned, and this could be a whole other podcast episode one day. If you can learn to block the absorbing of other people's emotions, which I've gotten really good at, but you keep the insane emotional intelligence that comes with being an empath, you can totally weaponize being an empath. And I'll teach you how to do that in another episode. That's probably an interesting thing to touch on. I work with so many people pleasers because here's a really interesting correlation that I have found since the day I started working in like the nutrition weight loss industry. The people who really struggle with food, right? The people that have a really, really difficult time with it, a lot of times are people pleasers. And here's why. When you have a difficult relationship with food, like a really difficult one, you are usually using food not because you want the food, you're using it as like a dopamine hit. So if you're someone who's like binging or somebody who's like, you know, eats what you're an emotional eater, you're not looking for food, you're looking for the dopamine hit that you get when you eat, right? Because that sort of food in your brain triggers dopamine. Now, the interesting thing is that people who tend to be people pleasers are usually very out of touch with their own wants, needs, likes, desires, whatever, because you've kind of trained yourself to only like value what is going to make someone else happy. So if I say to you, hey, what do you want to do tonight? I don't care, whatever you want to do. Hey, where do you want to go out to eat tonight? I don't care, wherever you want. Hey, what do you want to listen to in the car? I don't care, whatever you want to listen to. Like I am so out of touch with my own wants and needs because what the most important thing to me is that like you are happy, that you that becomes the priority. So because people pleasery type of people are so out of touch with their own wants and needs, food is a really easy vice, right? It's a really easy way to get dopamine because it doesn't affect other people. Right? If I like take up my own hobby or I do something for myself or whatever, well, how does that affect you? You know, like, so, but food doesn't affect other people. So it's a really interesting correlation. And I find that as I work with people, as they get better with the people pleasing side and they start to put up more boundaries, the food stuff gets a lot easier and vice versa. It could work both ways. So there's a lot of, so I don't know if you're somebody who struggles with food too, but it's a very, very popular correlation, very high correlation I've seen. All right. So let's kind of break this all down. So you're really terrified of people being mad at you or people not liking you. The first thing you need to kind of do is start to like yourself, just as yourself. That's super, super important. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's a really important part of the process. And a good place to start is just by like asking yourself, okay, isolated from everyone else, what do I like? What are my likes? What are my dislikes? What are the things that make me happy, that light me up, that make me feel good? If you want to take a step further, you can start to say, okay, well, what are like my values? What are things I believe in? What are things that feel good to me as far as that goes? Start to just to get to know yourself, like write it down on a piece of paper if you can, because the more you understand yourself and the more you know yourself and the more you feel good about yourself and the more you start valuing yourself, the more you start valuing your own like opinions and wants and needs above other people's. So step one, we're going to kind of like strengthen our internal compass, our, internal system here so that we can be guided by ourselves instead of being guided by others. We're going to like kind of recalibrate and strengthen that. The next thing I want to do is I want to sort of maybe challenge your belief as to what a people pleaser is. A lot of times, you might say like, oh, I'm just so nice. I'm too nice. I'm too nice. I don't think being a people pleaser is nice. I think when you are a people pleaser, you will change your behavior to control what other people think about you. It maybe in a weird way is a little bit manipulative. And here's what I mean by that. Like, let's say your friend says to you, hey, listen, I'm coming to New York and I want to stay with you. Like, can I stay with you? And you're just like, yes, sure, fine, cool. But in the background, you're like, oh my God, I don't want her to stay with me. You're like, I have to like, the kid just started school. I'm going to get them off their routine. It's going to screw me up. Now I have to like get groceries for her. Now I have to like do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now I have to like clean my house. Like I'm not prepared. Like you're going through all of this stuff. Now that's not, so you're saying, yeah, sure, that would be great. But that's not really how you feel. So now you're like being manipulative and like not for nothing. If the roles were reversed, wouldn't you want to know if you said to your friend, like, hey, can I stay with you? And she's like acting all like happy and excited to see you. But inside she's like, oh, I don't want to see her. Like, I can't, like, I don't want her staying here with me. Like, I'm happy to see her, but like, I don't want her staying here with me. It's like such an inconvenience, but you're not communicating that with her. Right. So like, that's not necessarily fair either. So being a people pleaser in a weird way is manipulative. It's not really being honest. You're not saying what you're really feeling and thinking. You're not letting people know. So you have some people, of course, that are going to take advantage of you, but then you have some people that are like operating under this guise that you think like that they think you're doing what you want to do, but you're not. And how bad would you feel if the role was reversed? If your friend was like, hey, listen, do you want to go out to this great place? I love it, for dinner. And you're like, yeah, oh my God, that sounds awesome. But inside you're like, I fucking hate that place. How would you feel if the roles reversed? How would you feel if you said to your friend, like, hey, do you want to go to this place? And your friend was like, yeah, sure. But secretly she hated it. That would like crush you, right? So why would you do that to other people? So being a people pleaser, it's not about being nice. It's a protective mechanism usually. Again, not everything stemming from childhood, 9 times out of 10. If you had parents that you felt like you needed to please, you got rewarded when you anticipated their needs or whatever. And then when you didn't do that, you got hurt, you lost your safety, whatever. That's usually where it comes from. But I don't want you to like glorify people pleasing. People pleasing can argumentatively be very manipulative because you're not really telling people what your wants and needs are. And in your own head, you're like saying one thing, but then you're showing another. And had that person known, right, provided that they're a good person, like they would be like, well, why didn't you just tell me? Like they would probably feel awful. So sort of just shifting the paradigm as to like what that is. So here are the steps that I want you to take. Understand that these things are going to be very out of your comfort zone because you've never done it, but you're also not going to grow outside of your comfort zone. And I sort of want you to like look at this in a different way. So if I have 2 people that go to the gym for the first time and they like lifted weights, they did the whole thing. Both of them wake up very sore the next day. I have one person that's like, oh my God, this hurts. I don't ever want to go to the gym again. And then I have another person that's like, oh my God, like I feel sore today. That means I like did something. That's like growth. So I could have 2 people that experience the same thing, the same sort of like pain. One experiences it like, I never want to freaking do this again. And the other one looks at it as like a growing pain, which it is. So you're going to be out of your comfort zone as you are a recovering people pleaser. But if you can sort of train yourself to sit in that discomfort that you might feel and look at it as like a growing pain, almost like soreness in a muscle after you go to the gym, it's huge. So here's the protocol. Ready? When somebody asks you to do something, instead of just being like, yes, sure, cool, yeah, sure, whatever you need, I want you to practice, and this is going to feel more comfortable for you, being like taking like a pause, taking a beat. Be like, you know what, like, let me check my calendar, like, let me check my schedule, let me check with this person, let me see, let me like check with my husband, let me check with my wife, like give it a pause, because your knee-jerk reaction is going to be to say yes. I think it's a little aggressive right now when you're in the recovery stage to like flat out say no and reject them. So like putting a pause on it, it kind of like gives you a minute to think and calibrate your answer and maybe like send them the answer in a text message, whatever, or just like kind of like sit with it for a little bit. Then what I want you to do is I want you to take a minute. I want you to think about how you really feel about this situation. Now, if you're like, like I honestly don't mind doing this for this person. This isn't a people pleasing thing. Like this is a genuine favor and I'd love to do it for this person. They've done so much for me. Fine. But if it's more like the opposite where you're like taking on too much, I want you to think about how you really feel about it. And then I want you to think, how would this person feel if they knew how tortured I am over saying yes to this thing? And how would I feel if I was in that position? So I want you to take a pause, and I want you to like put yourself in their shoes, knowing how you feel about it and being like, oh, if I knew that she felt that way, I never would have asked her to do that. I feel so bad that I asked her to do that, but she never told me. So I want you to reverse it. And then I want you to tell them, no, I can't. I'm so sorry. I would love to, but I can't. Right. And a lot of times when you're doing that, you're actually saying yes to something else. So let's say somebody says, like, hey, can you like run to the store and do this favor for me? You're saying no to her. Maybe you're saying no to her, but now you get to spend more time with your kids. So you're not saying no to her as much as you're saying like yes to more time with your kids. So just like a little bit of a mindset shift there. And regardless, like I said, it's going to be uncomfortable. I want you to just sit in the uncomfortable. I want you to feel it and let it pass over you. And guess what? Now you have survived it. People pleasing mostly is avoiding the discomfort that you might feel when you tell somebody no. And if you let yourself sit in it, eventually it's going to wear off, and then you're going to feel okay with it. And at the same time, you're strengthening your own internal compass, you're understanding your own wants, likes, and needs. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to start just like having people respect you more. You know, if you could think of somebody in your life who you wouldn't ask them for any little thing, right? But like if they did you a favor, you'd really like appreciate it. Like somebody it's gonna you're gonna command a lot more respect. I know you think that people aren't gonna like you. The only people that aren't gonna like you are the people that were using you in the first place. The rest of the people in your life, they're going to recognize, and I promise you, you're going to start to draw in more respect from them. So I know this is a lot. It's going to be outside your comfort zone, but this is truly something that you want to overcome. And I promise on the other side, it's like a beautiful place. Practice these things, work on these things. It will be like life changing for you. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Ask Mish. I have 3 quick things for you. Number 1, if you're not already following me on Instagram, give me a follow. I want to be friends with all of you guys. Shoot me a DM if you have any questions or topics you would like me to address. Number 2, if you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe so you never miss an episode. And like extra credit bonus love from me, if you rate it 5 stars and maybe write it a good review, I would appreciate that so much. And yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, number 3, make sure, ladies, your boyfriends are going down on you. Have a great week.